Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Welcome back to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters, and we are here in the middle of some very, very interesting times, very exciting times, because as I am recording this, it is March 23rd, and we are out of lockdowns. The mask mandates have gone away here in Portland, as has most of the United States. They're rolling back a lot of the mandates as new information has come forward. And there's like 25 countries, I believe, where there's absolutely no testing requirements and that you can travel to. And that is a really, really good thing. But there is a lot more going on beneath the surface, and we are not over and through this yet. And I'm not saying that to run fear tactics. It's just there is a lot that happened over these last 2 years, and we need to pay attention and really learn from it. And the people that were responsible need to be held accountable so we can do things much, much differently. So I hadn't wanted to jump on because I hadn't felt very in alignment with my purpose. I haven't felt very in alignment with my messaging. And unless I can truly embody what it is that I'm sharing, that I'm asking from all of you, I can't be coming from a place of inauthenticity. I've been wanting to evolve this podcast while it'll still be highlighting those that have awakened their hearts and are living joyful, epically fulfilled and aligned lives because of it. But I feel it's very important to really go into the awakening that is happening on our planet. And it is happening so fast. I mean, there's been a lot on this pathway for many, many, many years. But I think because it's been so in our faces with these last 2 years of lockdowns and all these crazy mandates and the flip-flop messaging, that it's important now more than ever. It's accelerating. These plans that have been laid out for so long are accelerating at the faster pace. Like, come on, you can tell me, like, if you look at the news, whether it is on mainstream media, and I hope by now that you're not listening to mainstream media, or it's through your sources that you get your news from, it's getting more and more bizarre as the time goes on. And how do we not get carried away from it? The headlines, the divisiveness, the fear porn, the mass psychosis, which is real and is really happening for a majority of people. Like, no matter how much information and how much truth comes out, they're still refusing to see it. But the good thing is there's so many more people that are opening their eyes and are done and are not going to take it anymore. And that is what's going to help as more of this agenda is rolled forward. So yes, we've got breathing room. Thank heavens. I love it. Being able to go into a place and see people's smiles and feeling the energy, it's much lighter, and not being able to be more present. And I'm learning myself, and this is what we all need to do, is there's things that are happening in our 3D reality, and we're going to be ascending to the 5D, and to be able to become an observer of everything and not to be carried away with it. And I did, as earlier in the year, it was the Freedom Convoy in Canada. It was a beautiful movement, and all these people uniting for the rights of every single Canadian. And it had nothing to do with ethnicity. It had nothing to do with race, religion. It had none of that. Vaxxed, unvaxxed. It was all inclusive. And seeing the mainstream media really slaughter it and really really lie about what is actually happening there, and then seeing the complete government overreach that happened where they basically put in martial law. And I got pulled away from that, and I was watching my media probably for like 7 hours that day that happened, and just totally traumatized by it, and in fear mode and fear mentality. And there's a lot of good that happened with it. A lot of people can see behind the veil of the lies and have waken up their eyes, or have opened their eyes and inspired many around the world to do the same thing. I'm in Canada. They're some of the nicest people and gentle people that and they're at the forefront of this battle. So I got carried away by that and all the censorship. I've been censored. I've been shadow banned. I mean, like, if you're listening to this, you probably put up some posts at some point and gotten that beautiful COVID notice at the bottom, or fact checking or misinformation. Like, really, what is misinformation? Like, really, everything that people have lost their deplatformed, they've been censorship, they've lost their jobs, they've been shadow banned. Everything that they've talked about that I followed, that I've opened my eyes up to the beginning, the people that I followed and listened to are 100% true. And it's coming out as like it's all rolling out that they were actually right. So I really want to provide a platform for those that they can have their voice, that they're being censored, that maybe they're being gaslit, and something outside of what is being spewed at us left and right, the propaganda, for people that know about on a collective of what is actually happening besides what we're seeing on the news, besides what's being propagated. I mean, I can see it all the time now. I see it. I can watch a Netflix show and see what's propaganda. I can see like it's this bizarre CIA story. And it's actually based on truth because some of these programs are actually happening. I was in a nail salon the other day and I looked down at a magazine and I saw the one eye, like a picture of a woman, and she had her hand over one eye. And I know what that means. It's the Illuminati, the cabal, truth in plain sight. It's all real. So that stuff is happening. So how do we stay sane amongst all that? How do we align as humanity? Because we've been so divided. It is not about one or the other. We're all connected. We are all part of the collective, and we need to unify in order to stay awake and not let the agenda that they are rolling out at lightning speed take over and really enslave us all. How do we stay above that? Because of everything that it was being pushed on everybody in the last 2 years, there's people popping awake like popcorn. And the awakening process is not a pretty process. I mean, I feel I've been like really awake for the last 2 years, really awake for the last year and a half, and my eyes are wide open. It is not a pretty process because the foundation of everything that we believe to be true is absolutely not. And there's just corruption at the very center and core of everything that we see on TV, that we hear on the news, the medical systems, the tech industry, big pharma, the health. It's nothing about health. Like, it is really quite shocking. And you can spend so much time like curled up in a ball, traumatized, angry, and to really see it and really believe something differently takes a lot of courage, because a lot of us have seen the media like flip-flopping, like left and right, the government officials flip-flopping, like saying one thing and then bringing it back and retracting and saying they never said it and such. I mean, one of those things is masking. It works, it doesn't work. And then the V, like, oh, this is going to protect you 100%. No, it's not protecting you. You need to get another shot and you need to get a booster. Oh, well, that, stop the spread. Oh, well, then Omicron rushed through and everybody got it. Like, vaxxed, not vaxxed, everybody got it. It was very mild. And they're seeing now that they're trying to introduce more, like even with all the documents that were released, there's 9 pages of Pfizer data without getting too much into all the details, but it's just a big example is like there are 9 pages of adverse events that happen through the Pfizer data that was finally released, that they had to get a court order. They didn't want to release it for 75 years, 2097, but the court said, no, you must release this in the next couple months. Some of the first data that was released showed 9 pages of adverse events and over 1,200 deaths in the first 3 months. And they still pushed it forward. They're backtracking actual deaths. They're pulling back that they miscalculated. It's all being unraveled. The narrative is falling, but they're still trying to hold on to it. And they're now pushing a 4th booster. I mean, how many dogs, if you gave them a rabies shot, and they still got rabies, wouldn't you question the vaccine? But they're still trying to blame the unvaccinated. They're trying to deflect responsibility and still roll out a lot of this other bullshit, vaccinating young babies. And, people are really getting sick and taking the rights away from the people. So a lot of people got that done because they thought it was the right thing to do in the beginning. They thought it was the right thing to do, that they were going to protect their neighbor and grandma, and they were doing it for the betterment of society. And then you had the people that were kind of forced into it. I mean, we always have a choice. Many people have walked away with integrity from their jobs, as hard as it is, because when we give up rights over our bodies, what do we have left? The government does not own our bodies. So people were forced or felt that they had no choice, and they got it to keep their jobs or to go to a grocery store or go to a restaurant or whatnot, and finding out that it actually doesn't protect you at all. And there's no reason for it if everyone can give and get it, but yet still they're trying to punish those people that didn't fall in line, like Canada. They can't go anywhere. They can't travel. They can't get on a plane. They can't cross borders. It's like form of punishment. So because of that, so many people are like, enough is enough. We've seen your flip-flopping. And Omicron was like a blessing because it rushed through and it left no prejudice, and everyone over the winter seemed to have gotten it, and showing that everyone gets it. No one's exempt for it. I think they were really hoping that it would rush through and really be worse than it is, because when was it, in December? They wished the unvaccinated, pretty much the White House wished the unvaccinated a winter of death, severe illness and death. Okay, well, we're all still standing. So it has caused people to really be like, no, enough is enough. I got 2. I thought it was the right thing to do. I am not getting a 3rd. I am not getting a 4th. So that is where a good place to start is to stand in sovereignty over your own body. Nobody has a right to your own body and what to put into it. So because of that, they're seeing how maybe they've been misled and some of these stories that they believed in, and to really examine that and to choose to see things differently and to really take off the rose-colored glasses takes a lot of courage. And I feel that there needs to be people to help guide them through the process, because like I said, it's not pretty, and we need more people that are awake. We need more warriors to stand up for what's right and fighting for the freedoms of not only yourself, your family, or your state, but the country and the entire world. We need to join together, because nobody's going to be riding on their big white horse to come and save us. We are here to save ourselves. There's also so much more going on above the noise that is down here. There's light workers. There's a whole ascension process. There's new timelines, and I'll bring on some guests that can speak more into that. I'm trying to not be swayed so much. I get triggered a lot by some of these headlines, and I just notice in my body when I'm getting triggered. And I try to lean into it and breathe into it and know that that's what's happening, and then go to a higher perspective of it and know that there's angels and there's guides and there's other beings that are here to protect us and work with us and take us through these times. And it's about raising our vibration, and it's about raising our energy into the collective. And there's actually, when we work in your heart energy, there's such a resonance, especially when it connects to other people's hearts. And there's many light workers and star seeds that are here to help us through this process. And I will be bringing some more of those people on the show because they can speak more into it than I can. It's something that I'm aspiring to and becoming more of. And I guess the awakening process, like people have been awake to this for years, and took me 2 years to really come to a place where I can kind of be more of the observer, just like in meditation where you observe your thoughts, observing all that's going on, but not being taken away by it and not being driven out of my inner harmony. And it's to be of this world, but not to be in this world, but not of it, or to be of this world or not in it. It's one of those. So that is my practice. And, I'm going through it with you guys as well. Maybe you've been awake for a long time, or maybe you're just starting to awake and listen to Joe Rogan and seeing the backlash that came from all that, and just beginning to okay, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Okay, maybe I was wrong. And what's the next step? Where do I go? Who can help guide me? And then there's just the people that you just can't. I've learned that there's people that just, no matter what you say, no matter what you show them, they're not willing to wake up, and that's okay. And I've heard that that's like, they're just not, there's people that it's in their DNA, they'll just never come into the 5D and the ascension process. And that's okay. But as long as more of us keep speaking up, it won't get to that atrocity phase. Like, keep speaking up, because it's the 30% that create the atrocities. There was a study on mass formation that happens, and if people just keep speaking up, it won't get to that level. So we need more truth seekers, we need more leaders, and we need more warriors. And I plan to be a guide for those that are like stepping into their own light and into leadership. Because if we really don't learn from this and take responsibility for what happened and how our own part, or how we might have our own responsibility in how we showed up, history will repeat itself. And, we have to look at the lessons. So much division. Before all this happened, I thought we were finally coming together and we were living peacefully and harmoniously together. There's so much division. And there's so much division everywhere, and we can't have that happen. It's not about black versus white, red versus blue. There's so much more going on beneath the surface, and that's what we really need to tune in and see. I mean, like I said, there's symbolism everywhere. And as soon as a lot of stuff got unveiled and the narrative started collapsing, oh, look, there's a war in the Ukraine and Russia. And let me tell you, there's a lot more going on there than what the media is reporting. There's a lot of ways that the U.S. and the Western nations are complicit. So I don't stand with any country. I stand with the citizens in each country that are being subjugated and suffering. Nobody wants war. They're citizens of the world, and they don't deserve this. They don't deserve what's happening that is planned, and it's by design. Like, it's a distraction. It's also a distraction. I mean, there's wars going on all over the world, and you got to question, like, why? Why are they so interested in this one? And why is it highlighting it? And I do feel bad for the citizens of the world, and I do not take a side, which either one, but there's a lot happening in the Ukraine that is not being talked about. So that's another rabbit hole that you can dive into at some point on your own. And again, don't be taken away by it. Like, I saw that coming, and I knew I wasn't going to go and get swept up and away from it. I've just been observing everything that's going on. So how do we navigate this? If we're just beginning to wake up to see beyond the narrative and what has been thrown on us and what has been happening for a very, very long time, how do we work our way through this? And it's so important to have our leadership in speaking up and inviting and living from truth. So one of the ways to do this is, first of all, don't listen to mainstream media, because literally they're bought and paid for, and they're a voice for like the powers that be. And you can follow that rabbit hole. There's like 6 companies that own all the media, all the newspapers, BlackRock, Vanguard, look it up. But how do we navigate this? So we see a headline. How do we discern from what is real? And how do we keep ourselves and our energy from being dragged away with it? The first thing you can do is, besides like not listening to mainstream media, is notice when you're being put in a reactive state. Like if something you've seen is triggering you, look and feel inside of yourself. What is going on in your own body? Are you constricted or are you open? Like are your shoulders forward or do you have a pit in your stomach? You're all tensed up and your neck's all tight. So that puts us in a state of flight where we want to do anything but stay where we are. And we freeze, we don't know what to do, so we stay in our bubble and we freak out. And let me tell you, I've gone through that period a couple times in the last 2 years. And because before then I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything at all. And when you're in fear, you're unable to access an ability to discern what is real and what is not. You're not standing in your power and you're triggered. What the fuck is going on? Then remember not to react here, to lead what is true and what isn't. Do your own research. Look at all sides. So if you see a headline and you hear one of your stories, you see it on Instagram, really do deep diving and investigate. Look at Brave. Don't do Google. Even DuckDuckGo I'm hearing is compromised. Do it on a private browser where you're going to get unbiased search results. And so you'll really be able to really go and really like read studies, read reports, don't take somebody's opinion. Really look at all sides. I mean, when the whole war in Ukraine first started, I just kind of sat back and observed and looked at everything, and I didn't want to say anything about it until I really understood what was actually going on over there. And in the very beginning, a lot of people that I follow didn't quite know what was real or not. And there was a lot of fake news that was being reported on truther channels that were reporting fake news. So there was fake news being created as fake news, and it was a mess. So finally, I understood what was actually going on and understood it. Instead of being carried away in mass formation that's really happening now, people aren't getting the whole picture and the whole story. So it's really important to do your research. And you have to amplify a sense of compassion for the world, not about being right or wrong, but utilizing power to lead with responsibility. So that, again, is looking at all sides. And you have to look into your own bias to see where they came from. And sharing from a space of knowing and not reactive. I mean, I can get triggered and reactive. I just literally was on a meetup group for the next wine night. It was a wine meetup. And in the notes, they said, all people must be vaccinated. We don't have vaccine mandates here in Portland, and all those restrictions have been released. We never had it in the first place, but a lot of places in Portland did implement them on their own, which I find very discriminatory, whether you got the V or not. It has nothing to do with it. And so I launched off. I could have just ignored it and just like, I'm not going to be part of this group, but I launched off because I was triggered and wrote a kind of snarky email back to them regarding like, why would you like segregate by vaccination? That's discriminatory and you're ignorant, blah, blah, blah. So again, don't go from that reactive state. That was a reactive state. That's when I need to just breathe, sit in my body and think about it before talking. My mom would always say, think before you talk. So that was a reactive state. And that's one that you don't want to share from. So I love this. I was listening to Ruby Freeman. She's an amazing coach. She's one that's got a great podcast called Potent Truth. And I just bought her book, Potent Leadership. And I love what she had to say recently on one of her podcasts about discernment, about what is going on out there as far as the headlines and discerning what is real and what isn't. And she says, number one, you have to step away. Step away from it. Don't watch the news. If you find you're being triggered, find a safe space, breathe, really try to discern what is real or not. Number two is your body in a state of expansion or contraction? If you are in a state of contraction, again, your shoulders are up, you're tense, you're tight, your stomach hurts, then you're misaligned with your inner knowing. You have to feel into your body's nervous system because it knows, it really does. Your body tries to tell you all the time what is true for you and what is not, but most of the time we don't listen to it and we get ourselves into trouble. Number 3 is what feels true and what doesn't. If it helps, you can write it down. Writing down will help you process your feelings. And number 4 is pause, take 5 deep breaths. It will really help settle your nervous system. You'll reconnect to your body and you'll bring your body back to homeostasis. It's your inner harmony. Number 5 is what is inner knowing telling me and listening to it. So again, quieting down, dropping into your body and listening to it because our body has wisdom. Once we get out of our mind and get out of that fear-based reactive state, mine has been angry, whatever it is, and really tune into your body. And then the final thing, number 6, is trust your inner knowing. We're brought up that we don't trust our instincts. We don't trust ourselves, and we're programmed not to believe it. And that is where the meditation is to really trust ourselves. And when we can trust ourselves and surrender to a higher power and knowing that is working through us, is working through the very fabric of the universe and is working through everybody and everything. And basically the universe has got our back because the universe is within us and of us. The world of illusion is real, and only because a lot of us are awake to it now. We see it, and there's always been people that have been privy to it from the beginning, and they are the light workers. They are the star seeds. They are helping to guide humanity to this new earth because all the old systems are crumbling, and they needed to. On a higher perspective, all of this needed to happen, and everything is happening as it's supposed to be and as it should be. And we need to just rise and stay above it and to be led out of the darkness and into the light. We need to all really understanding what is real and what is illusion, and that the world we've lived in the entire lifetime isn't what we thought it was, because the amount of information continues to consume us. The belief paradigm is a line from knowing and not the illusion currently wanting to shatter. You have to trust your inner knowing. And that's why it's important to discern what is real or what is illusion. And that's why it's an exciting time. Amidst all the chaos, there's beauty being birthed for all these beautiful light seekers, the awakened ones, these hearts that are banding together to create something new out of the rubble, out of the ashes. And together we will all rise. So thank you again for tuning in to this podcast and the ruminations, and I've got a lot of great content I'm going to be sharing that's going to be busting the illusion and seeing beyond the narrative and have heartwarming stories and all that great stuff that you've come to love on the Awaken Heart podcast. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenheartpodcast.com.